Rain hammers the corrugated roof of the abandoned slaughterhouse on the outskirts of Culiacan, each drop like a bullet casing hitting concrete. The metallic stink of old blood and fresh gun oil clings to the air. You're 27 years old and already the most feared name whispered in the Sinaloa underworld. They don't call you by your birth name anymore. They call you El Fantasma, the ghost. Because when you come for someone, they never see you until the moment the light leaves their eyes. You wipe the blood from your knuckles with a rag that used to be white. The man on the floor, some mid-level rival lieutenant who thought he could skim product, has stopped begging. His face is pulp. You feel nothing. Not anymore. That part of you died years ago on the night your little sister's body was dumped on your mother's doorstep with a cartel stamp burned into her chest. That was the spark. The moment you stopped being a scared street kid and became something else, something precise, something inevitable. Your phone vibrates on the metal table. One word from the encrypted app, confirmed. The rival lieutenant is done. Another name crossed off the list. You pocket the phone, sling the suppressed Glock under your jacket, and step out into the downpour. The black SUV waits like a shadow. You slide into the driver's seat, engine already running. The driver, your handler, a wiry ex-Special Forces guy everyone calls Cobra, doesn't look at you. Boss wants you back at the compound. Big meeting. Something about the Jalisco new generation sniffing around our roots again. You say nothing. Words are for civilians. The compound sits behind razor wire and armed spotters on a hill overlooking the city. Floodlights cut through the rain like searchlights in a prison yard. As you walk through the heavy steel doors, the familiar smell of cigar smoke, expensive cologne, and fear hits you. El Patron, Don Miguel El Toro Vargas, sits at the head of a long oak table surrounded by his inner circle. Maps, laptops, and bottles of aged tequila cover the surface. Don Miguel doesn't smile when he sees you. He never does. Fantasma, sit. You drop into the chair. The others shift uncomfortably. They know what you are, a weapon. A necessary evil, but even weapons can turn. We have a problem, Don Miguel says, sliding a tablet toward you. On the screen, your face. Grainy security footage from last week's hit in Tijuana. Clear enough that facial recognition software would light up every agency database from here to Washington. Jalisco put a $10 million bounty on your head. Not just money, they want your skin on their wall. They're calling in every sicario, every dirty cop, every street rat with a gun. You're officially the most hunted man on both sides of the border. Your pulse doesn't even flicker. You've been hunted before, but this feels different, personal. Don Miguel leans forward, gold chains catching the light. You're too valuable to lose, but you're also too hot to keep close. We're sending you south, deep south. New identity, new safe house in the jungle near the Guatemalan border. Lie low for 6 months, let the heat die. You meet his eyes, and if I say no, a shadow of a smile. Then you become a liability, and we don't keep liabilities. That's the trigger. The moment you realize the cartel that made you is already measuring you for a body bag if it suits them. They give you 48 hours to disappear. You spend the night in the armory, packing a ghost bag, suppressed pistols, ceramic knives, encrypted sat phone, fake passports, and 3 different poisons that leave no trace. Cobra finds you there, leaning against a crate of C4. Take this, he mutters, pressing a small silver crucifix into my palm. Belonged to my brother. He lasted 3 weeks after they put a price on him. Maybe it'll buy you 4. You close your fist around it. First time in years something feels warm against your skin. The next morning you're on a private flight south, landing on a dirt strip carved into the jungle. The safe house is a reinforced concrete bunker disguised as a rundown eco-lodge. Your new handler is a quiet, scar-faced woman they call La Viuda, the widow. She doesn't ask questions. She just hands you a burner and a map marked with rival territory lines. For 3 weeks you train alone. Dawn runs through suffocating humidity until your lungs burn. Nights spent disassembling and reassembling weapons in total darkness. You practice moving like smoke, silent footsteps on wet leaves, knife work on hanging pig carcasses until the blade becomes an extension of your will. The obsession returns in quiet moments. Memories of your sister laughing in the sunlight before the cartel took her. You sharpen that memory like a blade. It keeps you human. Barely. Then the initiation comes without warning. A rival scout team finds the safe house on week 4. 4 men, heavily armed. You hear the first twig snap at 3:17 a.m. Adrenaline floods your veins like ice water. You kill the lights, slip into the shadows wearing only black tactical pants and bare feet for grip. The first man dies with your garrote wire around his throat before he can scream. You feel his pulse hammer once, twice, then nothing. The second you take from behind with a suppressed shot to the base of the skull, clean, professional. The third spots you and opens fire. Bullets chew through palm fronds as you dive, roll, and come up with a throwing knife that buries itself in his eye socket. The fourth tries to run. You chase him through the jungle, barefoot, heart slamming, until you tackle him into the mud. He begs in broken Spanish. You press the barrel to his forehead and whisper, "Tell your bosses the ghost sends his regards," before pulling the trigger. When it's over, you stand in the rain-washed clearing surrounded by 4 bodies. Blood mixes with mud on your skin. You should feel triumph. Instead, you feel the first crack in the armor. These men had families too, somewhere. La Viuda appears at dawn with a team to clean up. She looks at you differently now. Respect, maybe fear. "You're not just a hitman," she says quietly. "You're a fucking artist." She becomes the first real bond. Over the next months you train together. She teaches you poisons derived from local jungle plants, odorless, tasteless, deadly in 20 minutes. You teach her silent movement and how to read micro-expressions for lies. At night you share cheap rum and stories that never quite reach the truth. She lost her husband to the same cartel you serve. There's a strange comfort in shared wreckage. Then the missions begin. First, infiltrate a rival cocaine lab hidden in the cloud forest. You go in as a corrupt chemical engineer, glasses, lab coat, forged credentials. The smell of acetone and ether burns your nostrils. You plant the charges while flirting with the lab manager to keep her distracted. When the timer hits 0, you're already 2 kilometers away, watching the fireball bloom orange against the night sky. Small victory. The lab boss's screams echo in your dreams for a week. Second, a high-speed extraction of a captured cartel accountant from a moving convoy on a mountain road. You rappel from a helicopter at midnight, land on the roof of the armored SUV, cut through the sunroof with a thermal lance, and pull the accountant out while bullets spark off the metal around you. Cobra joins you for this one, remote support turned boots on ground when things go loud. You fight back-to-back in the jungle after the crash, him with his rifle, you with dual pistols in pure rage. He takes a round to the shoulder. You get him out alive. That night he calls you brother for the first time. Then the poison job in Mexico City. You slip into a private cartel summit disguised as waitstaff. 1 drop of your custom neurotoxin into the rival boss's whiskey. He convulses mid-speech, foaming at the mouth while you calmly walk out the service entrance. No one even looks twice at the quiet server. With every kill, the moral erosion deepens. You start forgetting faces, start sleeping without nightmares. The ghost is winning. The man underneath is fading. Brotherhood moments come in the quiet. Cobra teaches you chess on a battered board, saying strategy is the same whether on the board or in the streets. La Viuda shares her daughter's photo, hidden away in the States, and admits she dreams of getting out one day. You almost tell them about your sister. Almost. But paranoia creeps in like jungle rot. Encrypted messages from Don Miguel grow colder, payments slow. You notice La Viuda receiving late-night calls she won't explain. Cobra starts double-checking your gear when he thinks you're not looking. The turning point hits like a sledgehammer on a rainy night in the safe house. You return from a solo reconnaissance to find Cobra on his knees, hands zip-tied, blood running from his nose. La Viuda stands over him with a gun to his head. Don Miguel's voice crackles over speakerphone. "Fantasma, you've become too expensive, too independent. The Jalisco bounty is still active, and we've decided to collect it ourselves. Deliver your head, and we keep the 10 million. Simple business." Cobra spits blood. They offered her double to turn on both of us, told her she could see her daughter again. La Viuda's eyes are dead. "I'm sorry, I can't lose her." Your heart doesn't break. It hardens into something colder than before. You look at the woman you trained with, laughed with, almost trusted. Then you move. The shot is perfect, through her shoulder, non-lethal but enough to drop the gun. She screams. Cobra headbutts the nearest guard. Chaos explodes in the confined space. You fight like the ghost you are, knife in one hand, pistol in the other, turning the safe house into a slaughter pen. Bullets ricochet off concrete, blood sprays across the maps on the wall. You reach Don Miguel's voice on the line and crush the phone under your boot. Cobra's hit bad, gut shot this time. He grins through the pain as you drag him towards the escape tunnel. Go, brother, finish it, make them bleed for every name they ever crossed out. You hesitate. The old dream flickers, getting out, finding some piece of light.